when we first were thinking of or fantasizing about doing this interview with you guys, Felix had the brilliant idea that as soon as we started the interview, we would talk to Benny, assuming that his character from Good Time was just him. Yeah. And be like, dude, you made a movie? That's so cool. Oh, God. Yeah, that's amazing.
You made a movie? That's incredible.
Yes. I could do it.
There is you guys know Tom Sharplin?
Yeah, definitely.
So we used to listen to the Best Show a lot. And Benny, that character was developed with Ronald Bronstein. So we wrote the movie with.
And then every once in a while, Ronnie would be like, oh, well, no, people aren't going to. It's not real. People aren't going to do it. It's not going to work.
No one's going to buy that voice.
Nobody's going to buy the voice. I'm like, no, I'm telling you, I could do the voice. People will accept it as real. And it was just a whole thing. And so I would call into his.
Who's the greatest judge of
yes, is Tom Sharpling always gets these calls. Get off my
Gomp,
get off my phone. And I would call trying to convince him that I was a real person. And so I would call as Nick. And I would get onto the phone, and then there was a whole thing with the grandmother listening. I had this whole theory of like this whole scene that was working, and he didn't hang up. It got really like silent on the air, and then I think actually our friend Jake was also listening, and he texted me right when it happened. He goes, "Man, it's like you got it. Like he totally thinks that that's real," and it was just like. Got silent.
So you test these things in real life.
Yeah. So it is in that sense, it was just like, but I've had full on interviews with people who either don't know or look at me like I'm a ghost. Like, what's going on right now?
You said like you guys were talking about like the patronizing, like, hey man, like you said, like, congrats, you made a movie. That's it. Good job. That's sadly, I hate that shit. You know what I mean? Like, someone was talking to me, they were playing basketball and someone was like special needs, you know, they were developmentally disabled in some way, and then like, you know, they were getting special treatment. Everyone was like walking on eggshells. Just treat everyone the same way. How about that? You know what I mean? And I know that when we were doing research with Pattinson up in Yonkers, Benny when he stayed in character when we were doing this research, people just ignored him. They pretended like he was like not a real human being. They squeezed him out. No one wanted to talk to him.
There was
and he just naturally ended up being, you know, pushed to a corner.
There was a moment where there was like a full conversation, and the circle just slowly closed, and I was literally just on the outside, not in. And I was like,
people are ugly, man.
And it's strange, and it's like and for that, it's like we look to cast somebody who was disabled. You know, we really wanted to do that, but there was. The speed of the schedule, the speed of everything, you know, we would have had to do so many things that were unfair.
No, it was the action sequences we would have been manipulating.
And it would have you'd have to manipulate somebody out of what we thought was nice. You know, it wasn't comfortable. So
speaking, by the way, of prank calling phone radio shows, I am a degenerate Knicks fan, and there is one Knicks show that is talking like the listenership is probably 200 to 300 people.
Is it still around?
And it is still around. I'm not going to bring it up. But they.
This is my JD and the Straight Shot fan podcast that you're talking about.
It's basically that. Yeah. I mean, there are the people on that the listeners of that show could name songs by JD and the Straight Shot. I had a character who was known as the dog guy, and I had this like soundboard of dog barking, and it was hard to do that when I would get that my dogs knew about my eternal Knicks frustration, and that when I would start getting hyped up, the dogs would start barking. So I would have to be giving a rant and then start hitting all of my buttons with the barking. And then the host would be like, they're barking. You know what I mean? It became like a thing. And the whole character was, it's funny because I don't really know where I ended and this character began.
Well, I mean, like to your earlier point about, you know, just treating everyone the same and everyone being equal. I think we should, like, in the spirit of that, let's just all go around the room and do our version of that voice and just try it out and see how it goes. I think people will enjoy it.
I think it'll go really well for us. I think people really like us for it.
This is generally how I start my day.
Yeah.
You know, it's like how an opera singer does the scales in the morning, you know, just getting the instrument ready.
Yeah.
I was saying we should actually open by asking if you'd like to apologize for the anti-Semitism of your movies.
Of Good Time.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were no Jews in that.
I mean,
There was.
as the old joke
bail bonds.
goes, Greeks are just Jews without money. So
Well, some things can be superpowers.
yeah.
So you say that, I say it's a superpower.
Well, I guess I should formally introduce this episode in our interview. In case you haven't already figured it out, we're talking to the Safdie Brothers. And, of course, we've all seen Uncut Gems now. It's been, I think, the most memeable movie of the year
Yeah.
so far.
absolutely.
It's just...
Is that true? You can't tell when you're in the middle of it. I can't.
yeah,
really,
no. Just a screenshot of Sandler. This is how I win. I've
Yeah,
seen
yeah.
so many times now online. But so like Uncut Gems is a very like singularly New York movie that features many again unreplicatable, genuine New York weirdos in it. But before we get into that movie, I got to talk about what I think is maybe one of my favorite films ever, and I know you guys have a connection to it. I'm speaking, of course, about sensational internet video. Short man screams at
Douglas
trumpet player.
Levison. Douglas
Yes.
Levison. Yeah.
Yes.
I actually did a podcast.
Yes,
with
I
him.
know. You did a podcast with
Yeah.
him, and I am fascinated just to hear a little bit more. For those of you who don't know, the video is, imagine Paul Simon with Anton Chigurh's haircut going on a like unbroken 5-minute rant, verbally abusing a like busker in the Village.
Who the hell do you think you are? You any kind of artist? Anybody know who you are? Maybe everybody else wants to enjoy the peace and quiet. This is one of the most important places in all of North America. Who are you? Who are you? You miserable, presumptuous, no talent. You're no artist. An artist respects the silence that serves as the foundation of creativity. You obviously don't have the talent. You don't have enough respect for yourself or other people, or in what it is to express yourself. In music or any other form of creativity. And I'm an NYU film school graduate, sucker, and the School of Visual Arts, and the Academy of Art University in San Francisco. You suck. You're a no talent. If you really had talent, go practice and then get yourself a gig instead of ruining the end of the day for everybody down here.
My favorite,
It's
my
down
favorite
in the
moment.
financial area.
My favorite moment in that is when the guy gives in and says, "You know what? All right, fine," and he wants to move on. And he's like, "No," and he doesn't want to move on, and he steps.
Bob
Yes.
Dylan out on the stage. Who the fuck are you? No, Douglas Levison. We put him in heaven knows what. We shot a scene with him opposite Ariel Pink, and we cut the scene. We recreated the
moment.
fight, and we didn't use it. It wasn't right, but
It's
it was-
online.
it's online. But Douglas Levison, first of all, he's super into TM. And I find a lot of new age. A lot of my heroes are big TM people. So I've never done TM. I did some meditation, but I never did TM. But the idea of somebody who practices regularly meditation, exploding like that. But like it's particularly in like the financial district where that video takes place. I talked to him about it, and he says that he has one of his skill set is verbal judo.
That's
That's exactly what I saw in that video.
It's poetic too. It's
Yeah.
like an incredible soliloquy.
It really is.
Yeah,
and it's
it's
unbroken.
That whole setup, like, you know what? Who the fuck are you? And he gives like 5 other ones, and it's all the same.
Well, no, when he says that great thing, the silence is the.
That is my favorite line in it. And he goes, "Who the fuck are you? A true artist respects the silence that serves as the foundation of creativity."
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
the
Although,
more-
by the way, is that true? I don't know. I listen to music a lot. You know, music is.
It's one of those things where you just deliver something at such a good rhythm, you don't have time to think about whether
Yes.
what they said makes any sense or not. It's like, it's the
He also, I
Biden
think
speaking
he
method.
genuinely, he's a musician, and I think he genuinely was just kind of like offended by the lack of talent on display, and that he was forced in this moment to listen to it when he just was on his way. Who knows what he was dealing with in that moment?
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like he was just like one of those just like roving yelling guys. Every city has them.
yes.
But like it is.
But he's not. That's not common for him. I think that was an explosion. I think he's not like a normal screaming guy. Is like kind of that whatever it is in your brain that keeps your internal thoughts internal. That normal screaming people just that switches off.
Now
So
I'm
they're just
wondering
kind
how many screaming guys I've encountered. Like that aren't regularly screaming guys.
we actually did something
Because I just
long.
assume that's a type of person.
well,
there is definitely there is a
we
time.
did something a long time ago there's nothing you can do. We made a short film where it was like, okay, we wanted to create one of these screaming guy things on a public bus. And so we created this whole like scenario where all these people got on the bus at
All
different
the actors
times.
and
all the
quotes
actors
got
would
on.
get on at different points and start filming just because they're in New York, they're on a bus. How cool. And then I would get on right before the bus went into the park. And once it went into the park, we knew we had like 4 minutes before we on the other side and the bus driver could stop and kick me off. So there was a 4-minute time to start the scene. And the whole thing was I was upset that there was a baby crying on the bus, and I would yell to the woman in the back too.
But we have to note that the baby was actually a fake baby
Yes.
that we had
So
in
there
like
was
some type
nothing
of
on the
harness.
bus.
Right.
So there was actually no baby
babies
crying.
were harmed
So-
in the making
Well, no
of
baby
the-
was
yeah.
crying. So
was no-
everyone on the bus heard was some guy screaming about a crying baby
So
that
they
didn't
thought
exist.
they thought something was off. And so
But
then
he's wearing a suit. And,
yeah, but the idea was we wanted to see what would get everybody in the bus to kind of come together.
Well, no, there's the
and
thing
kick
that
him
I
off.
the detest is
public-
is
yeah.
that like public shaming,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
All of a
Yeah.
sudden,
Right.
The
And-
cricket lady?
Well, what was the cricket lady?
Oh my God. Remember the fucking cricket lady?
What's the
She
cricket?
released a bunch of like crickets.
Whoa.
On,
Oh yeah.
That's
okay,
not
on the
okay.
train while
Crickets
it
are
was
frightening.
over the bridge.
Okay.
So it was
She
stuck,
just released thousands of
suspended.
crickets?
Yeah, just a box of crickets. And then people were like, actually, there was video of it, and people were actually like weirdly nice in that way that New Yorkers are like, okay,
Yeah.
okay, calm down. We're gonna get. And she's like screaming and
It was
throwing
an
a fit or
accident? She
whatever.
accidentally-
No,
Oh.
no, she was like acting like an insane woman and running around and then later she was like, actually, I'm an art student, and people were like, oh fuck off. Fuck. And everyone, she's like, I wanted to see how people treat the mentally ill, and everyone in the video was really,
really
nice.
nice.
Yeah.
They were like, all right, we're gonna be fine. We're all on your side. Like everyone was so nice to her, and it's like. Yeah,
So-
you're just the asshole with a box of crickets now.
So she just did like fucking NYU Shariko. That fucking sucks, dude. That shit sucks.
This was different. This was an actual. We wanted to make a short film, and
Yeah.
we wanted to use all these people who were on the bus
We wanted
as
to have-
extras,
Yeah.
without them knowing.
Yeah.
But it was also like to see what happens if a handful of planted people, if they
Egg it
started,
on.
ganging up on somebody, if people would intuitively just join in, and they did.
Yeah, and then, like, halfway through the park, the bus driver stops the bus.
people are like, pull it over,
Yeah.
and then he literally physically got thrown off the bus.
and it was just like.
All for yelling about a woman's baby.
But then that's Ronnie, who we wrote Gems with. Is
We work all the time with.
he's on the bus, Ronald Bronstein, and he was like actually had a camera in his pocket recording the audio, and so but at the end he's like I don't know about you guys. He goes, I wouldn't assault the guy, just because he's yelling. He's like, and then everybody's like, oh, but the moment he yells is like when he becomes
the
a
thing that
stranger.
the thing
Yeah,
that
but
no the
that's too
thing that
far.
Ronnie's great, and we do a lot of things with Ronnie. I love you, Ronnie. He
can always see
in particular doesn't like the collective joy that everyone felt.
Yes.
After they threw him off, like we did our part. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
there
We
was
got
such
rid
an
of
Yeah.
applause. It was insane.
And then he was like, no. He's like, I don't think someone tried to like egg him on, be like, wasn't that guy an ass? He's like, listen, you say what you want, but like, you don't assault a guy.
yeah.
Anyway.
But as
But
far as-
Douglas Levinson.
Yeah,
is,
about Mr. Levinson and the angry man yelling at the trumpet player. What I find so phenomenal about that, it's like 3 to 5 minute video, and it really is a complete journey. And what's amazing about it is the angrier he gets, and the more in like full froth he gets, he remains totally articulate throughout all of
Yes.
it, and he actually gets
Yeah.
more articulate.
It's not
so that-
easy.
So like as it cascades further and further, it takes on a real sense of pathos.
Yeah.
With this guy, it's incredible.
He reminds me of like I'm not going to get too far into this guy because it's a saga, but there is a YouTube man I've been obsessed with for 12 years named Dan Quinn.
who's that?
Dan Quinn is a former.
Okay, there goes the rest of the episode.
I'll give you the brief notes.
Curious.
Dan Quinn is a former Notre Dame football player who is expelled for what he says was a trumped-up charge by who he calls Lucifer Lou Holtz, the coach of Notre Dame. And anyway, he smoked meth for 20 years and went insane and believed that if you took the sugar replacement stevia, you could make something that could replace cocaine and also cure cancer. And
Is there any validity to that?
oh, it's true. It's true. Yeah. No, it's just madness. But like, I've been obsessed with him for 12 years. I knew him through like MMA forums. He was a big deal on MMA forums because he would call out fighters. and he's so fucking crazy and he gets so fucking mad. But in all the videos where he gets mad, he has these like amazing turns of phrases and like sort of weird economy of speech. And I think there's like a point you go past of just being like a bizarre fucking person and maybe some degree of insanity where you are kind of better at language than a normal person.
Interesting.
And I think Levinson's kind of like that.
Well, because you're so used to hearing yourself speak, is you think that's a little bit of that?
maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. You
I mean,
or-
presumably he had that thing about the silence being the foundation of creativity in his head.
Oh,
on
yeah,
a
yeah,
loop.
that's something
For
he
sure.
said
You know what?
before.
Matt is probably the
What?
Well, you also have,
the ideal person to
Oh,
talk
you
about
also
this,
have
'cause
to
he
remember-
he has the same inverse relationship to articulation and rage.
the thing you have to remember about Douglas is he's ultimately an amateur musician, and he's seeing another amateur musician, and he does have that. He did walk Bob Dylan out on stage in 1967, whenever it was. He wants to flex. That's him. He sees another guy.
I went to
and-
NYU Film School, sucker.
Yeah, I know. Suck on that. No, I know. It's like, what? Who uses that? It's
The transcendental meditation thing doesn't surprise me either, though, because like I think of Lynch as like the poster.
Lynch, Andy
poster
Kaufman, Howard
child,
Stern,
and
yeah.
and I've seen.
Seinfeld, I think.
Have you ever seen the video where David Lynch, where they ask him, do you think people will start watching movies on their phones? And he just slow boils to a screaming rage.
It's such a sadness that you think you've seen a film on your fucking telephone. Get real.
I just think that TM doesn't help with that kind of anger.
I think it's, I mean,
I think it's about like organizing thoughts, but it's not a anger suppressor.
Right.
You could say that the TM is what keeps people from doing that all the time. It's like,
Who knows what
it's
he
like
would
a
be like.
serum that keeps the werewolf at bay.
I mean, it's really worked for Modi.
But Josh, though, when you had him, when you talked to him on a podcast, I seem to remember like asking him, like, what were you thinking, or what was the genesis of this outburst? And I think he said 9/11.
I don't remember that.
Oh, I like
did
that
he say
he said
that?
he was like, I was thinking of 9/11 at the time.
I mean, he was. I think they were down near ground
Yeah,
zero,
yeah,
but
yeah.
like that's. I believe that. I believe that. I think that he's. I think he's a deep guy, Douglas Levinson. He wanted to continue working together. I know someone in LA who ended up shooting something with him too. I wonder what he's up to. I haven't spoken to him in a little bit. But Mitchell Wenig, who appears in our movie in Gems, who's the guy who Sandler gives the watch to, and he ends up coming back saying, "This is a fucking fake Rolex."
yeah.
Mitch is a guy who Benny and I met in a diner in 2011, and we put him in a short in 2012, and we stayed in touch with him. He's the best stories. He's one of the weirdly
leading
enough.
autograph
If you've seen the
collectors in
movie,
the
this
city.
is the guy that is like at certain points of the movie, kind of like keeps showing up and trailing Howie, hassling him.
He's the
as
weak bookie.
Yeah,
And he shows up and he looks like he's with his twin brother.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Sandler says,
yeah. And he goes,
So-
"Did you bring your heavy with you?"
I knew that he had a brother, but I didn't know what his brother looked like because his brother and him once jammed out with Johnny Ramone. And
he was very good friends with Johnny Ramone, or at least
Mitchell
that's what
was. They lived in the same
and-
building in Chelsea or
And
something.
I remember he told us a story, and it was like, because he can't be anything but sincere, Mitchell. This thing's, it's unbelievable. But we were talking about Johnny Ramone, and he's like, yeah, when he died, it was really powerful to him. And then I think you asked him if he went to the funeral, and he goes, no, I didn't. I'm like, well, why not? And he's like, because I loved him. And it was
Mitchell
like-
has this
it was the
incredible
most
cadence
deep
to his voice where everything has a question
answer.
mark on the end of it.
Yeah.
Like where you don't know if he's looking.
He was unsure of himself when he
He's
said
so
that. but-
we weirdly enough now, like in the past few months, whatever, people we show up to like whatever a screen or something. Sandler's there. Or whatever. There's people who collect autographs, right? And they want us to sign these things. I don't know why, but one of the guys, I'm signing this thing, and he says to me, "I love that you put Mitch in this," and I was like, "What? Oh yeah." And he goes, "Mitch would probably be here if he wasn't in the film right now asking for an autograph." I said, "We all know Mitch wouldn't be at this event because Mitch is one of the leading autograph collectors in New York, in the tri-state area."
To me,
And-
yeah.
no.
Yes.
But like, he has the best stories of all time
There's-
about some legendary rockers. Rod Stewart has nightmares about him.
No, there's okay. Let me wait.
No, not joking. Paul McCartney broke his eardrum
Well, no,
once.
so basically, the best.
I'm not joking.
wait. So why does Rod Stewart have nightmare?
I'll explain. So first of all, so I'm signing, and then so he said, Mitchell says hi, and to me that was the most incredible thing, was that here we are at this fancy event, and we have this direct connection with this whole other subculture. It was unbelievable. But Mitchell told me once, I ran into him as he was leaving a Rod Stewart thing. And I guess Rod Stewart had asked him, he brought like a bunch of things to get signed because he loves Rod Stewart. Rod Stewart's the best. I actually think he's the best.
Felix loves Rod Stewart.
Rod Stewart's one of the greatest.
King.
So anyway, so then he asked him to sign.
By the way, Dylan made the most money ever off of.
That was a courtesy. Forever Young, they said, I guess we should probably run it by Dylan, even though it's not the same song. It just has the same name. And then Dylan's like, all right, give me 50%. It's nothing like my song. But.
And it was like the biggest hit ever for.
So anyway, so he asked Rod to sign one thing, and he did it. And he's like, and then I asked him to sign another, and he did. And so he's like, and then he signed like 7 more things for me. And I'm like, oh, that's great. He goes, but then he said, okay, that's enough to Mitchell. And I said, oh, that's nice of him. He goes, is it? And I said, it is. He goes, well, I think it's kind of mean that he didn't want to sign more. And I was just like, what do you mean by that? And he was but he really did want him to sign everything. And it's like, okay, he really does care about this stuff. But
a lot of autograph collectors sell a lot of their work. Mitch doesn't.
No, he collects
it. He actually collects.
That's respectful. People just grubbing and reselling it. That's very.
People do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw at this National Board Review event, this guy had a full Goodfellas like printout, really nicely print out. I really admired it. He had so many signatures on there. He basically had the entire cast and crew. The only person he was missing was Pesci. And Pesci was there that night. So he was like, I got to get Pesci. So I saw it. I was like, that's amazing. And he goes, yeah. I said, who are you waiting for? He goes, Pesci. I was like, he's not in there. He's like, oh, damn. And I took a picture of it. I have the picture of it because I want it. I wanted it. I was like, are you selling that? He goes, not going to sell this one. This one's for me. Because it is a industry for sure. But Paul McCartney's story is, I told Mitch, I was like, you pushed it on that one. He wanted these autographs. It was very soon after Linda McCartney died, and he wanted he wanted Paul to sign something that she had. It was a picture of her. He pushed it. You know, this guy's dealing with death in his own way. He's still a Beatle, you know what I mean? And he pushed it. He leaned in. He said, "Go away!" and screamed in his ear. And if you've ever spent time with Mitch, the idea of him being confronted in that way, I can't help but chuckle because he's not a scared person. So I could just imagine him taking it and then asking for the autograph again. You know what I mean? Like, he's not fazed by these things. He has his George Harrison stories. Great. He's got a lot of really, really, really great stories. And his brother, he showed up. We really wanted him to play that part. We wrote that part for him.
For Mitchell.
And our casting director, who we work with a lot, her name is Jennifer Vendetti, and she's amazing. She does documentaries. She wasn't sold on him. She was like, I don't know if he could do this. And on this movie, it was a bigger movie for us. So we had to, all those casting decisions, we had to vet and come up with this.
We had to have a tape.
We had a super
proof.
document.
We had to literally have a tape with their not. It wasn't an audition. It was like an acting portrayal on some sort of tape to be like, this guy can do it.
And it was a super document too. It was like, Scott Rudin, this guy, his biggest credit might be that Paul McCartney broke his eardrum, but he's the only guy who can play this part, and this is why. And so in the process, in the rehearsal, in the audition process, a lot of actors went for that role too. And he showed up with his brother, and Jen was like, "Who's that guy?" And he's like, "Oh, my brother Stewart wanted to know if he could maybe audition for something as well." There's a job, So they're like,
Just
okay,
said yes.
They sent me a picture. Like, do you want? I was like, put him in the audition. Let's just see what he does. And he didn't do anything. He just stood there behind him and was a presence. That was his whole.
But they had a weird thing.
And we go back and change the script because of it. Now, Stewart, when I met him for the first time, I didn't know what Stewart looked like. I didn't realize they looked so similar. And he says to me, he's like, "Oh, I make music." So oh, okay, cool. He's like, "I actually gonna record some music for the movie if you don't mind." I was like, "I don't mind at all." And he showed up on set, Stewart, and he went up to Ronnie. Ronnie's the co-writer, co-editor, and he goes, "What's your title on this?" And Ronnie's he's drinking coffee, and he goes, "Oh, I wrote the movie with Josh and Benny, and I'm editing." He said, "Oh, so you're an editor, huh?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "You got any say with the music?" And Ronnie's like, "Well, Josh and Benny, they usually pick that music. Sometimes." He's like, "Why? What's up?" He's like, "Made some music for the movie." And he's like, "Oh, cool." He's like, "What do I got to do to get you to put in a word for me?" And Ronnie's like, "I don't know. Just give me the disc, and we'll take a listen to it." he recorded.
Well, I then ran into Stewart that day also, and he's like, "Oh, so you're going to put my music in the movie?"
I talked to Ronnie. He said you're going to do it.
And then I was like, "Well, we don't know." And he goes, "It has the same name." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And because it was
All
called
the track titles. He never read the script.
But
track
the
title
song
was like
name
The
was
Robbery.
Uncut Gems. So you can't not use it. You know, it's called the same. And I was
He
like,
didn't even know that there was a character. He didn't know there was a character named Julia in the movie, but there was a track named Julia, Jewlia.
But the thing,
That's a genius. First of all, wait, we're laughing.
No.
The music's amazing.
yes, that's the thing. So
It's
he
like
gave
R.
us the
Stevie
song.
Moore. It's amazing.
And you're
What is
just,
it
and you're
like?
like, oh my god,
It's
how
like R.
did
Stevie Moore. Do
It
you,
ha-
know, do you know who that is? He's like a he's like a
But
lo-fi.
it's got this weird 60s
genius.
vibes. We're like, oh my god, there's all this instrumentation. You're like, when and where did he record this? It's unreal. And it's
I'll
just
put
like
it into the mic
again,
right now.
there-
I'll
he's
put
just like
the track, yeah.
hiding, but you wouldn't expect it to be like this. But then you're just like, oh my god, this is insane.
All right, you guys want to hear
like,
it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bump that. It's the Uncut Gems.
it's like, but like there's
He's a guy
It has
with
like
a
a
lot
bird's
of
eye.
problems. No, that's
It's like Johnny and Joe.
That's
Johnny
great,
and
but
Don
I was just like,
Johnny and Joe Emerson.
that would have
a little
been given the movie a very different feel.
Very different
he
feel.
didn't know anything. He just
I
didn't know
actually
You would
anything.
have,
want.
you
We
would
have
have
a.
to have said it in California.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
We have a company. I want to actually release. I want to do a video. I want to release the album. I think there's all the songs. They're all kind of the same, but they all have a great vibe.
So that's Mitch and his brother. But I want to talk about, like, you know, to me one of my many favorite things about the movie is that basically like half the cast are like non-professional actors. They're like the first time in a movie or like playing themselves, whether it's Garnett. But the first one I want to talk about is the guy who, when I first saw the trailer for the movie, I stood up and saluted my laptop when it happened. And I'm talking, of course, about the god, Mike Francesa. So how did it come about that you were like, I got to have Mike Francesa in this movie?
So originally we wanted for that role a real bookie that we know, who
very
we
similar to-
put bets in with, in particular Sebastian Bear-McClard, who's the producer. That's his bookie. His name, I was almost said his name.
There's a similarity.
He's amazing, very personable. We met with him a bunch about, you know, certain crazy degenerate gamblers take issue with some of the bets in the movie. They're like, you would never. I know a handful of bookies who would take that action because it's the dumbest fucking bet I've ever heard. And to quote Francesa. So when this bookie said, I have a business to run, I'm not going to appear in your movie for SAG major rate. Like, are you kidding me? I'm give up my entire identity and the anonymity that I have in the business. No, get out of here. Go kick rocks. So I was just like, all right, so we can't get him. Who the first thing that popped in my mind was Francesa. He's just it. He was the first person. I just thought they resembled one another. Yeah. And you're making a movie about
New York sports.
A New York sports degenerate. I can't tell you how many times I've listened to Mike's show.
Oh, yeah.
And just he's not even sometimes he's on it, sometimes he's not on it. Sometimes he's just
the
like
famous clip where he just really falls asleep.
yeah. I mean, you have to remember, like, I mean, you guys, it's different. Like, you don't have every single day. You don't have.
Oh,
to,
I don't. It's he's on
imagine
air
that's
for
a
like
grind.
5
man.
hours a day.
It's a
every
grind, and
single
also he's
day.
not used to people filming these things.
Yeah.
Like, you know, he's used to going into the fan and sitting there and rolling through an
Crack
hour.
that Diet Coke. Put those headphones in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we met with him. We like sent out like the kite, and we're like, "Do you want to be part of this?" He immediately came back to us and was like, "Yes." We're like, "Whoa!" He's like, "I want to have lunch first." We had lunch with him at an Italian restaurant. It was classic, and he was like a mob boss. Immediately, certain people, they can't help but be themselves, and those are the people you want to work with. He in particular, all of a sudden, I thought he was going to go to the kitchen and critique the food at one point. He is such a big personality, and sometimes you're talking to him, he's doing his right. You're like, are you paying attention? And he is.
Oh, and then he gets
Bad
the notes
Lieutenant.
like, perfect.
Yeah,
Like,
Bad
you're
Lieutenant.
telling him direction. You're like, I don't know if this is entering or anything, and then he would just nail it.
He
you
was
know?
a very
Yeah.
easy to work with. Took direction very well.
We basically said to him, treat Howard like you would treat a caller.
Yeah, we said treat Howard like you want to, like one of the callers you hate the most. Easy, I got it. He a big inspiration. I think a big reasoning from doing the movie is that Bad Lieutenant, the voice on the radio in Bad Lieutenant,
Is Chris Russo, is Mad Dog, yeah.
And I think he was a little bit upset about that.
Oh my God,
Because
yes.
he's like,
he was competitive.
Yeah.
voice, he goes, it's going to be my face. It's a total standoff. That
You
was
know,
great.
and then like he loves the movie. I enjoy talking to him. I text with him still.
And Bad Lieutenant. It's Chris Russo is sort of like the Greek chorus, like
Yes,
the voice of
exactly.
God
Yeah.
as Harvey Keitel's life just deteriorates more and more.
Yeah,
as
Abel
he
Ferrara actually just saw Gems for the first time, and we put him in one of our first films as a mugger, as a CD huckster. And I had heard that he saw the movie, but I didn't hear from him. I thought it was weird. And Abel's doing great right now. I don't know if you guys are fans of Abel Ferrara's, but
definitely.
he's his reaction. I gotta read one. I gotta read it. I gotta read it to you. It was. I'll read just a portion because he said, I'm not. He wanted to be a Jew his whole life. I didn't know that.
Grass is always greener from Italian to Jew.
Well,
Everyone, I mean, there should just be like one day a year where we all switch.
trust me, I've used that a lot. I'm like, oh, I'm Italian. You know, like when I was living in Harlem, I remember I was Muslim. That's just what I was. And it's all good. Assalamu alaikum. It's shalom, the same shit. Here he goes. He told me he goes. I was reminded. He goes, having Garnett in the film was off the hook. I love the way he speaks. Cool. He's incredible. Goes to show the whole project was worth waiting and things are meant to be. Having Garnett in the film was also off the hook. Reminded me that I wanted to do a shoot at Shea Stadium. I know this story. This is a true story about Bad Lieutenant. I wanted to do a shoot at Shea Stadium of Harvey standing behind the dugout, watching Strawberry walk away from the batter's box after striking out. Obviously, I couldn't pull that off right, but I can go on and on. Just keep the full press. Then he just goes...
That would have been amazing.
He actually said something about the ending that I really think is so funny to hear from Abel. I don't want to spoil it if anyone.
No, we can spoil. We'll put a spoiler alert.
No,
if you
don't
haven't-
spoil.
if you
Don't
haven't
spoil. Even the spoiler.
Because I
don't
hated
want-
what happened to him.
No, don't spoil. Don't spoil. I don't need to spoil.
We'll beep it.
Okay, beep it out.
No, that's not true.
Yeah,
Come on,
no,
they won't bleep it.
Just you beep it live.
You don't trust us.
There's two different things.
us.
No, because the thing is,
I
like,
trust him.
I trust. It's just
beep
I don't
it
want
live,
it.
Benny. Just beep it live.
Because but he's gonna like.
Yeah, no,
I know the
it's fine.
trick.
Yeah, no, we're gonna
beep it
have.
live.
We're gonna have. You're.
Come on, I want to tell them.
Okay.
Because I think it's
Yeah, no,
genius
we're gonna
and I
have
love it.
Chris say that you just said something really racist. Or It's fine. It's
All right.
fine.
Only thing I hated was that the. It was like killing Santa Claus or Mickey Mouse. I love
Yes,
it.
both of
Abel
those.
Ferrara, who's killed so many of his characters in so many of his movies.
Santa Claus and Mickey Mouse are the two
Things
yeah,
you
that
think
come
of,
to
right?
mind.
I
yeah.
love it, but I love that, but I know that there was a thing that he wanted to do in Bad Lieutenant. Also, is that he wanted Keitel's character to use his badge to get onto the field and try to juice the game.
fuck up the game for the mess. Yeah.
which is amazing. And that movie, worked with the M. They didn't have sanction from the M, but obviously we did fair use, so we just made the movie. Anyway, Mad Dog, Chris, Mike Francesa.
Bad Lieutenant uses a fictional Mets Dodgers playoff series as the backdrop to the disintegration of Harvey Keitel's life, and that it's also a gambling narrative, and that he keeps betting against the Mets over and over again as they pull off a miraculous come from behind 4-game winning streak to take the series. In this film,
And don't forget to mention Zoe Lund in that film.
Yeah.
I think she wrote the movie with him, and that's crazy scene where they're listening.
where they basically literally shoot
free
heroin.
basing,
on
and he's just naked. And
Yeah. But for your guys, you used a real NBA playoff season. So you used the fair use, the clips of basketball that you're watching in the film was a real series, and it follows a narrative where Garnett's got a good game, an off game, and then a great game, right? How did you choose that series? But more importantly, Garnett. How did you come upon when you're writing this movie, making Garnett really?
It wasn't Garnett for a long time. It was Amari Stoudemire. We started in 2010. Took 10 years to make this movie. Started in 2010, and it was centering around a Knicks run wherein Amari Stoudemire, who's Jewish, had a legendary
keeping
run.
it in the family.
Exactly.
I say, yeah.
But think about it that way. The black Jewish thing was a much bigger part of the movie. The Ethiopian Jewish tribe was a bigger part of the movie when it was Amari Stoudemire.
By the way, I saw the movie with Cal, my friend who's Ethiopian, and he was just like, from the beginning,
No
we
one
had
talks
no
about Beta
idea.
Israelites.
We had literally no idea that was going to be in there. And
Wait.
so he's like, "Oh, I'm so into this," and he's like, "I don't."
Did you know about the Beta Israelites?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
of
okay,
course,
yeah.
yeah.
No, there's a big Jewish population in Ethiopia.
Yeah. He gets the Facebook ads all the time.
Amazing. Amare. So we wrote it around Amare. This movie took so long to make. We had a Shabbat dinner at Amari's house at one point.
2010 Amari, 2011 Amari, 2012 Amari. It was just moving along
and
as the
then
years
at
went.
one point we did a table read in LA, and he came and was a part of it. And then at some point we tried updating it. We made it more contemporary, and it was going to be Joel Embiid, who's a player in the 76ers, who's from Cameroon. So the African element was about like reclaiming this thing that was taken from Africa and be empowered via that. Then when the schedule got pushed into the season, we couldn't use an active player. Joel's manager, Jenny Sachs, actually appears as Kevin's manager in the movie. So good did come of it. We also got to go to some Sixers games, which was sick. And Joel's amazing. And his humor also helped steer the movie, that script. So when we had we couldn't use an active player, we had to go back to the drawing board. Amari wouldn't shave his dreads to match the games we needed to use. So and the weekend is now a big part of the movie too. So we are limited. We can't go earlier than 2012. So now we're like, okay, it's a very small
So
bullseye.
basically, like, literally, it would have been any game sequence that was good, bad, good at any moment during Garnett's career from 2012
Well, we
to the
didn't
time
know
he
it was
retired.
Garnett yet.
Yeah, but for sure. Yes,
We
then
met
when-
with a couple of players, and originally Garnett, I'm a big Knicks fan. I hate him so much. So I didn't even want him near the movie. Honestly, I was just like, I saw his name on the list, and I was like, as a Knicks fan, I was like, I hate him. I don't want him in the movie. And they're like, you got to talk to him. I was like, fine, I'll talk to him. And the first thing I said to him was, I hate your fucking guts. And he really appreciated that. And then you realize he's a big wrestling fan.
Well, yeah, that's his performance.
Actually, that's what I was so taken with by the choice to go with Garnett. Like even like as a Knicks fan or someone who's like followed the NBA, how could you not hate Garnett unless you're a Celtics fan? But at the same time, I always kind of liked him because he's always such a good heel.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's such a good bad guy.
And he loves being the heel.
And when you
Loves it.
talk
He
to him,
gets
you
off on
realize
that.
that's it. Like he's doing that on purpose. You're like, okay, this guy is an actor, in some way, shape, or form. But then it was like, okay, when
Also the best storyteller ever.
I'm just happy in a weird way. It's like, yes, I don't like that it's a Celtics thing. I'm just happy it's not a Brooklyn Nets thing because it could have been. If he had a great game, bad game, great game on the Nets, that we would be
We would
sitting
have been
here
using it
with the
talking
Nets
about-
game, and I'd be
Yeah.
like, fuck.
Well,
like,
New Jersey Nets game would be kind of awesome.
but it would Brooklyn
even though I
Nets.
still hated them when they were
the
in New
Brooklyn
Jersey.
Nets, so it would have been an
Yes,
extra.
we're not doing a Brooklyn Nets
And
movie.
so that's
but
why it's like, okay, at least even though it's
Celtics.
You're not going to center your film around the dynamic, exciting Barclays Center.
Yes, exactly.
experience.
Yes.
the Rust did not. Yeah, no, thank you. The Prokhorov, the Russian, the Putin's fucking. He somehow infiltrated the NBA. Putin. No,
Although he just sold the team.
Yeah, no, Prokhorov did. Don't shoot me, Prokhorov. But I have a crazy story to tell you guys about Russian spying that I can't go into.
Well, that was
But
it's next level.
it was next level, and it was like someone was so paranoid about it, they made the phones leave the room, and it was like such a. Anyway, I'll get into it another time. But Garnett, when we looked at the games, we lucked out into falling into a playoff series. That was just the
It
best
happened over
sequence that we had.
Passover. It was
And it had
everything
to
was
be a
perfect.
Northeast series. It had to be Northeast games. We actually at one point we had these agents, and they were like, "You got to write up the movie, write up that character, give it to Kobe. Kobe wants to act." I was like, "Kobe wants to act, right?" I was like, "L.A. Laker movie, Kobe." I don't buy him ever in a jewelry store. I just don't buy it.
Yeah.
So like I ended up doing it. I like watched so many Kobe interviews, trying to understand who he was as a person.
It was a stretch at
And
the
then
New York stretch.
we were going
where
to
he
do
was
it
at the
around
Garden.
his 61-point
Yeah.
game at the Garden. And I wrote it. Took me 2 weeks to do it. And then they're like, oh, they were bothered. Where is it? I was like, it takes me time to do this. And then eventually I was like, all right, I finished. Here it is. Let's send it to Kobe tomorrow. They're like, Kobe doesn't want to act. We heard he only wants to direct, so we're not going to send it to him. People don't understand. The concept of work to some people is so foreign. Like they don't understand that like things people have to do it. You know what I mean? It's like you push a button and it gets done. That mentality is dangerous.
So moving on from like the sports aspect of it, and Garnett, like even playing himself is phenomenal in the movie.
He's
Like,
amazing.
really, really good. and people are like, you can say, oh, he's playing himself, but like,
No,
it's not just so easy to do.
No, it's
Like,
also like those are not real situations. He's in. He has to fictionalize. He has to put his real self in a fake situation and make it feel real. That is the hardest thing you could ever do.
One of the producers, Scott Rudin, said, he knows. No one's saying the obvious thing, which is, if this guy can't do the scene where he's into
the whole movie
opal,
doesn't work.
The movie doesn't work. No one wants to
Yeah.
say that out loud.
So
Scott will be like, can he act? And you'll have to talk about what does that mean to act, and
But then
why
there's
you
also-
think he
there-
can.
there has to
We're
be
not
a-
going to screen test. This guy's not going to do an audition. It's not.
there
gonna
has
happen.
to be a confidence on our part to be like, it will work.
That's a
We
gamble.
know it will work. And then, of course, it's like when you're on set and he's just killing it, and everybody's like, what is going on? This guy is like knocking it out of the park.
But when you
Like,
think about
but-
that, really, what that is,
Yeah.
where the entire production is
It's resting on that.
on a 5-second moment in the movie.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary. That's like
I don't even
Howard
think
hoping
about
that
that.
opening
Yeah.
tip is going to go to this.
Yeah, literally. it's
which,
exactly
by the
same.
way, I like that scene was. I felt more stress and anxiety at that tip off than I've had watching a movie in probably 20
what's-
years.
What's actually amazing is that
love to hear that.
that sequence actually is much longer. Like we actually have him going over every point.
We have the entire game on film.
We have the
It's
whole
crazy.
game. Sandler did the whole game. Every point, every rebound, he looked over at the guys and counted it off. And it's so much so that it's like I wish that there was like a function. You'd like the you could do the translation on your TV. Just hit like the Howard function on a game, and it'll just go over every replay and like through his brain. But yeah, that sequence is just like
Sandler's unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's why we wanted to work with him, because we knew that
he's a fan. He's going to be able to add things that you wouldn't even know, and it just that, and also that it's a playoff game, Game 7. Like
There's
literally,
so
it was a gift.
There was so much tension, and I knew how those games ended.
You're a Celtics fan?
No, you're
That's-
gonna
yeah.
hate me. I'm a Pacers fan.
Weird.
Oh my God.
Hey,
Rick
sorry.
Smits?
Reggie Miller.
Nah, I hate Reggie Miller.
It's my childhood.
Reggie
you know?
Miller. Listen, you guys crushed us, but
I know. we
And you're
did.
still
We
somehow
really
good
did.
right now. I don't understand. Like you never go away.
The
as
bonus
Pacers.
is really
and Larry Bird and Donnie Walsh. I love Donnie
Yeah, yeah.
Walsh when he was in the
Not
Knicks.
fair.
The Pacers, Indiana.
I know.
The Pacers. Rick Smits for some reason bothered me more than Reggie Miller. Rick Smits was just kind
There's
of
something
like
about a Rick with a K with that skull shape.
Yes.
Smits.
It's
Yes.
very
It
intense.
seems like there's bad stuff going on.
yeah,
right?
yeah, he is. Yeah,
Yeah.
He is.
I don't mean to judge, but you know what I mean.
Smits.
I also just hated him.
Well, that's what's amazing. Most
a good Jimmy Smits
most
is
Knicks
good, though.
fans hate Reggie Miller.
I do. I mean, he
Yeah.
taunted us, but you have to. You
was
have
so
to
good at
admire
it.
the
was
skill.
so good at
he
it.
was very good.
Yeah.
Cheryl was good too. His sister.
Oh yeah, no, she
Yeah.
was better than him.
That's
actually.
what they say.
People say that.
No, she was. Yeah.
It's just like moving on from like half of it is set in like the world of sports and
Yeah.
gambling. We've covered that, but like a huge part of the movie is about the New York City Diamond District.
Yes.
And like the access to you guys there, and again the non-professional actors that use it, people like who are just part of that world who are in the movie.
One of my favorites
And I told
is
you like my favorite character in the whole movie is the guy that he pawns Garnett's
Rodney
championship
Dangerfield
into,
looking dude, yeah.
and who's like the haggling guy,
Marshall.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Could you just like
Marshall
talk about how you
Greenberg.
found those guys, or like how they got involved in the movie?
So Marshall and Ronnie Greenberg, who appear in that scene together,
they're like fraternal twins.
They're
or
fraternal
something? Yeah.
twins. Yeah, they're twins.
Marshall's older.
Marshall is older by.
But it's so funny.
Ronnie's
Even though he's like
older,
a couple, he has that feeling of the older brother.
So Todd Volpe, who's this guy who's a jeweler in the Diamond District, who's very much a Howard guy from Howard Beach, actually. So he's like a Howard guy. Sandler trailed him almost exclusively. He trailed a couple other people, but he spent a lot of time with Todd because we all were very inspired by Todd. Todd was supposed to originally be that part. And it was a one character thing that we wrote, and we just loved Todd. We wanted to be in the movie, and he's a great haggler too. He's the guy who shows up in the beginning, comes out the door in the hallway, and he goes, "What the fuck is going on out here?" And during the fight,
Yeah.
the slick back hair. He was supposed to be in it, and
we had already cast Ronnie though Greenberg. We had already cast his
not
brother.
yet. Oh, that's something else.
We already cast his brother in the movie, so that was like we were excited. He's amazing, and that
But-
was just something that was in the books. We went up to Todd's office
with without Sandler,
and we
Sandler,
just
yeah.
and Ronnie was there, like Greenberg, and we opened the door and we're like,
Marshall was sitting there, who's the one who you
who
love.
is
yeah.
this?
And
he had
I'm a
this
huge
voice.
Rodney Dangerfield fan.
Like Harvey Fire, like that voice.
Yeah,
Like,
he's a Harvey Firestein
Yeah.
voice. But I saw Marshall sitting there, and I fell in love like immediately. Like I really fell in love with him. He looked at me like, "What does this guy want from me?" And I was like, I think I even called him Rodney by accident. And he was just, I was like, you need to be in our movie immediately. And I was just talking to him, and his brother is Ronnie went to film school actually with Darius Kanji, our cinematographer, which is a weird ass coincidence. And so Ronnie, anyone who's interested in film, we have a good in with. Someone who's not interested, they're like, I don't want to be a part of that nonsense. So Marshall was tough to convince. And when Todd, this epic, very Howardinian event happened in Todd's real life the night before we were shooting, or 2 nights before we were shooting that scene in the Diamond District that you were talking about. Something happened. He ended up in the hospital, and he broke both his elbows, and he's a miracle he's alive, Todd. And it's a miracle I really don't know how he is alive. But thank God he is. And he said to me, we couldn't get to him, and he had Garnett's championship ring. He was embellishing it a little bit, making it a little bit more fancy, using a couple real emeralds, a couple real diamonds. That was his job. He was also working with the props department. He disappeared. We couldn't find him. And he had the ring. He had a couple of other pieces too. So we were all freaking out. Like, we have no Todd, we have no actor, and we have no we have no championship ring. End up getting in touch with the right person. He's in the hospital. We get the ring back. Obviously can't shoot with him. And I had to write this thing like, hey, I didn't want anyone to think that we were casting people who are ending up in the hospital in any way. So I had to like cover it up. There was a family thing and something happened, car accident. It was an accident. It's not like it wasn't.
But then it was like,
it's not like it was.
But then we had to we asked Ronnie. We're like, all right, we need you to. Needed him to convince Marshall to do it. Also.
Ronnie and Marshall were good friends with Todd, so that's how I ended up finding out about this accident that Todd had. So I was like, oh no, and he felt really bad. So I was like, you know what, I want you to play the part, but I want it to be you and your brother. And he's like, I don't know if Marshall's going to want to do it. I was like, you got to convince him. And he's like, I was like, this is how much it pays. He's like, it's paid well. So he's like, and it's only going to be 6 hours of your day, or it ended up being a full 12 hours. But just please, you could do it together. We shot the first scene with Ronnie and Marshall. And then the second scene, later in the movie when he goes back to get the ring, we were under a time constraint, and we actually couldn't cover 3 characters. So
we had to cut it.
We had to cut one person, and we had to get Marshall. So naturally, I go up to Marshall. I'm like, listen, this next scene, we're actually going to ask you to do it alone, not without Ronnie. And he's very tied to his brother. And
he pulled me aside. Yeah. He's like, you know this. And we're like, basically like, I'm not doing this if Ronnie isn't okay with it. It's just like, because it was like his part was getting cut down.
He also knew Ronnie cared about movies.
Yes. So he's like, I don't want to take, this is not my thing. This is his thing. I'm not going to do this if he's not okay with it. I'm just letting you know that. And I was like, I totally respect that. And I understand it because I would be the same way.
So we instinctively wrote a new scene for Ronnie, which we ended up cutting, not on purpose.
It wasn't his fault. It was like, literally, we tried to shoot in the district before we were ready. Yeah. So literally, there were hundreds of people in front of the camera. We couldn't use any of the footage. It was a disaster.
Anyway, so we shot that scene, and Marshall improvised the greatest line in the movie, Booby.
Yeah, because
I was just going to bring that up.
Improvise that.
Because we said to him, he's like, do I care about this guy? Like, yes, you do care. You've known him forever. And he's like, okay, I
And this
know
isn't
exactly
the first time you've seen him with scars on his face.
Yeah, and so that scene toward like the end of the movie where they trade rings, and Marshall says to Howie, he goes, Bubby, are you okay?
Yeah.
What's going on? He says, Bubby, what's going on?
Bubby, what's going on? And just that moment of concern and warmth outside of the haggling or all the bullshit and stuff like that. It was almost like I interpreted that as like Marshall was like a vision of like what Howie could be or turn into without all of the bullshit and insanity in his life.
And
it's one of the warmest exchanges. You know what else is great about it is he haggled the shit out of it.
Oh, he got he got the ring. He's like, you're not gonna have a third ring. I'm getting the extra percentage.
But he also knows how much that Knicks ring means to him. He knows something's going on in his life. You know what's crazy? Think about this. Marshall's.
Yeah.
You got to beep that out, too.
The thing that's amazing about that moment is like that was the second day we were shooting, and Sandler is like so prepared for this part. But now he's going in and he's acting opposite real jewelers. And this whole time he's like pretending, in his mind, I'm pretending to be Howard, I'm pretending to be a jeweler. But when he was going up against those two, you could see Sandler was really like psyching himself up. Like he was going to bring it. Because now I have to go in and prove myself to these real jewelers, and I got to be real also. And then on the other side, you have these two guys. They have to bring it and act opposite Adam Sandler. So you have this cool kind of incredible alchemy that happens just because you're using first-time actors in that moment. But I remember there's just like one of the things that can only really happen with somebody who's like acting for the first time is like when we said to Marshall, like, okay, we want you to make it, we want you to be really fast. You want to like really like a motor, almost like a Borscht Belt routine, back and forth when you're going through this haggling. So you got to really make it quick. And so he's like, okay, I got it. So when he does the scene, he gets to the moment where he has to do the haggling and goes, okay, make it quick. And then he just like, that's like, he took what we told him. And
He
just
literally took
added
the
it.
direction,
Yes.
make it quick.
And then it became
said,
one of the best
make
lines
it quick. Yeah.
as part of his dialogue, which is incredible.
So yeah, again, like another really fun part about like seeing this movie and then discovering all of these non-professional actors and like discovering their lives as they exist now through Instagram. And one of the funniest ones is the other guy who's like sort of starts out as Sandler's sort of protege and his jeweler shop, Avi. Avi the jeweler.
No,
who's a real-
Yossi.
Yes. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yep.
It's funny you say Avi because there was an Avi in the script at one point.
But yes,
Just
you're
Yossi.
talking about Maxud Trax.
Tracks NYC.
Yes.
So
Ooh, he's the best.
I just found his Instagram, which is amazing. I don't know if you guys saw this, but it's like he's doing like his jewelry, like almost like a QVC jewelry presentation
Yes.
on Instagram, and he just starts talking about the Qasim Soleimani assassination.
Yeah.
And he's going here. He's in front of like he's got these like gold ropes on like a mannequin. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna tell you about this shit. I don't know what you heard about like this stuff, this Soleimani guy. Like, I don't know what the fuck the news is telling you about this bullshit, but as far as I gotta know, sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do. Anyway, what's really important? These gold ropes I got for you here.
It's like this guy blew up. But
you know what's
up too. The goal.
What's
Everybody's got to be
education?
political these days.
You know what's educational about it is the way he wraps it in. He's basically saying because the cool thing that Maxud does
He's
with all of his
teaching people.
videos is he's educating people,
Yeah.
and people on the Diamond don't really like it that much. He's educating people, so he's basically giving that preamble about the
to
assassination
let you know, yeah.
to let you know that the price of gold went up.
Yeah.
And he's just like
because
the
of that.
chains
It's
went
all
up.
connected.
Yeah.
He's all about like to
And
him
then
it's all
he
about
did the
buy
update.
jewelry.
He did
do
the
what you need
update
to
with
do
like
for your own
when
trophy.
things calm down. He's like, I just lost $400 on this piece of gold, and he's literally showing the connection between it all. But yeah, he's
Maxud is great. We auditioned almost half of the Diamond District for that role, and that was a very coveted role amongst jewelers. And when we went with Maxud, there was a lot of people who were upset about it, because there were people who were much, you can say, quote unquote, bigger jewelers than him, and they thought they deserved that part just because of the pedigree that they have in the Diamond District. Maxud, in his audition, just he would write these monologues to come in and do, and like we knew there's that monologue scene when he's looking through the fish. He just is that guy, you just believe it.
And
he is the Yossi
and when
character.
he gets angry, there's like a tone to his voice, and he holds his breath. There's so many things that he's doing that are just you can't make that up, and he's awesome.
So finally, of these
I know who you're
heroes,
gonna talk about.
I'm talking about another absolute king and
The
pimp
best.
in this movie, Wayne Diamond.
Yeah.
Where did you find this?
Okay.
And then I've discovered I follow him on Instagram now.
He's a great follower.
Smash that follow
Yeah,
button.
yeah, he's a great
This guy is living his best life.
Yes.
He is incredible. He's a guy who really did make all his money in the garment
Yes,
district,
he
just
did.
a little bit across town.
Yes. Wayne Diamond, Sebastian was at dinner. The way Wayne also embellishes the stories are unbelievable. He told one person he knew us since we were 10. I was like, what are you talking about? I love that's what you gotta love about Wayne. Everything is 100 times 100. You know what I mean? He was at a restaurant. He's the loudest guy at the restaurant, and Sibo was just like, this fucking guy's amazing. So he immediately struck up the conversation with him. Starts out, how'd you make your money? He's like, oh, Meyer Lansky, immediately, gangster shit. You know what I mean? Quick to say that too, And then I did the same short-lived podcast that I had with Sibo. We did one with Wayne, and it was awesome. It was a lot. It was awesome. And at one point, we were trying to get him to pay for the movie. And we were gonna be like, maybe we'll make it. You'll be Howard, we were like, when we couldn't get Sandler, we were trying. It was an attempt, and it was just someone we just kept in the back pocket, and we would start writing for him. And he in the helicopter sequence was me, the camera. We couldn't fit many ones. So it was me and the camera person, and he was petrified of flying. Wayne, petrified. So the whole time I thought he was gonna piss himself, and I don't like being one either. So we're in there, and basically, we wrote some dialogue, and I was like, let's just go off on it. I was like, just basically be the most ostentatious, garish person you can imagine. He's like, well, I could be the best at that. And I was like, so we get up in there, and there's a whole cut thing, and you can't hear any of the dialogue because it was our sound person kind of fucked up that day. It wasn't Benny. But it was all about, he was like, she's looking out the window. He goes, look at that traffic down there. Look at this is the best. I was like, you know what? I actually have my own helicopter. He goes, but I like to do this because I get to meet people. So I let the guy stay in the hangar. He goes, this is better. You get to meet interesting people like yourself. You're like an artist. What are you, an artist? And she's like, no, I'm not an artist. He's like, what are you doing? He's like, you got a boyfriend? And then she keeps looking at him. He goes, what are you looking at? He goes, look at those houses. They're so small. How can you live in a house that small? Totally normal houses. And then he goes, me immediately. He's like, me. I don't know what I got all this money. I don't know what to do with it. I just bought a $25 million apartment in Tribeca. He goes, that's so many rooms. I haven't even seen the rooms yet. He goes, my wife, she's got a 200-room house in Greenwich, Connecticut. I don't even want to step foot in it anymore. You know, it's just like,
and then like when he has like, he's like, oh, I got to get showered. He goes on this whole other tangent that's not in the movie. He's like, I'm the best at showering. Oh, you got to see the way I shower. Oh my God, the way I wash. It's the cleanest you'll ever get.
He goes when I take a shower, no part of me is dirty. I'm the best at it. No one washes better than me. And then we wrote in the script, it says that he was nude when he's blow drying.
Look, I got nothing against that.
And then he goes, I was like, dude, you're being the classic creepy Me Too dude. Like this is it. Your door's open. You're showing her you're naked. Like you're trying to break the boundary. And he goes, I'm okay with doing the nudity. I don't care about that. I look great nude. He goes, but I look the best in a towel. And he goes, no one looks better than me in a towel.
He's right.
Yeah.
He really does. This is making me realize something for the first time, that there is, I mean, this may be part of the social fabric of America, but there is some sort of ancient liar's link between like older Jewish men and like contemporary like Ohio pillhead guys. Exact same type of fucking lies. Exact same type. It's the exact same type of shit. I'm the best at showering. Like that's it. You know, like fucking pick one. Is that 75-year-old Jewish man from the garment district, or a guy from fucking Columbus who licks Opana residue off of t-shirts?
But you know what? I believe that he's the best at showering.
Yeah, this is Felix's perfect Midwestern Jewish synthesis here. Now you get your entire identity. You're having a galaxy brain moment.
Exactly.
Well, we got to wrap it up here. So I guess I'll just finally conclude by last but not least, Julia Fox. You think she would like hang out with us sometime?
Julia is an amazing. I did one of those podcasts with her too. Julia is a great. You should have her on the show. She's amazing.
I think we could do that.
You should. She's.
Get me Bogosian, and then.
Oh, there we go. Yes.
All
right, Bogosian.
So
have them
much.
both. Bring them both on.
Oh.
Eric is amazing. Talk Radio is one of my favorite movies.
He's the fucking Armenian Elliot Gould.
I swear to God,
my favorite.
He's the Armenian Elliot Gould.
I agree with you.
He's got that same fucking energy. He's still cool. He still looks amazing. He's so menacing.
We saw Elliot Gould at like the premiere. He came to see the movie, and like California Split is one of like the best.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. I was like, did you see it all out? Like I was like, did you see it all out there? Like he goes, I saw it all. He's like, and I felt it all. I was like, this is the best. He was so excited.
Elliot Gould, by the way, has a great collection of blown glass that he's blown. But
Of
they're
course.
What is that?
He's
It's like,
that guy.
everything's an ashtray.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I love
Yeah.
it.
No, like the one profile.
But you should have Eric and Julia.
Yeah,
on.
the one profile that we had on that didn't run on us because we were in LA and they were asking us what our favorite LA movie was, and I was so happy it didn't run because we were all on edibles, and I went into like a 3-minute monologue about Elliot Gould and Wonka Pie or whatever. But no,
great on
Bogosian has
Wonka
the
Pie.
same energy. He's the Armenian Elliot Gould. He was so good.
I would have said waist deep during the game.
Interesting. I've never seen Waste.
So,
I don't think I have either. I was just picking that as like the out there LA movie.
So yeah, I'll close by saving myself from embarrassing myself further with Julia Fox by just saying shout outs to Catherine, who did, I think, coin that this is the year of Bogosian.
Oh yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh yeah, between Succession and for sure.
Bogosian is back, baby.
King.
He gave us
Absolute king.
he trusted us, and it's like it was amazing. You know.
Yeah.
So cool. But
Thank you, guys.
I just got to just
you
say,
for coming on.
Josh and Benny Safdie, thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
And
on.
thank you so
Thank you
much
for coming on the
genuinely
show.
for Uncut Gems.
Absolutely.
So great.
Amazing film.
Thank you, guys.
We
Appreciate
all
that.
absolutely loved it. And if you listen
Thank
to this
you.
and haven't seen it yet, what the fuck is wrong with you? Go and do
You are
that.
lower than a pig.
Really, thank you guys so much.
Thanks.
Fucking idiot.
Exactly.
You fucking idiot.
Cheers.